There you are. Peace and love to the family. Much respect, Minister Corbin reporting live. I want to thank you guys first and foremost for tuning in, for watching the channel. As you can see above, this is my grandmother. She's watching from above, literally. So I know this is going to be a great presentation. Since the last time I did a video, the family has gotten bigger, wouldn't you say? The last time I did a video, the Darius Marquise Corbin channel has got bigger. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. First of all, for listening, for tuning in, from vibing to relating to what I have been dropping. I'm far from finished. This is far from the end. If you're like me, when you were a child, when we were younger, you knew that you were spiritually different. You knew that you were in this world, but you wasn't of this world. Let me say this again. If you're like me, when you were younger, growing up, you were spiritually different. You knew even back then at your young age that you were in this world, but you were not of this world. You may have been far and few. Everybody may have called you crazy or a little bit of weird because you're talking about starships and you're talking about different planets and different beings. This is you at your young age. But nobody around you could relate to you. So what ended up happening was, for the most part, a lot of us conformed to the external ways of this physical world. And in doing so, what happened, family, was that we dimmed not only our spiritual light, but we also dimmed our vibration by conforming. And before I go into this amazing presentation that I'm going to jump right into, before I go there, to my religious people, I want to thank you for watching first and foremost. To my religious people, I want to thank you for tuning in. Because in Romans 12:2 in your Bible, Christ says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Think about that even at the end of this video. Family, before I go in, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. When I tell you that you are my brothers and my sisters, this is what I mean. As long as you guys are tuning in, hitting that like button, joining the family, or you say subscribing, but joining the family, I'm going to keep on giving this work. I am a Christ being. You are a Christ being. I have done this thousands of years before, maybe even more. And you guys tuning in, you folks tuning in, you've been there with me the whole time. So now the family is returning and it feels good, is what I'm saying. So, within 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Welcome to the Darius Corbin Mystery School, the home of the esoteric and metaphysical knowledge. I am Minister Corbin, Metaphysical Minister Corbin. I think it's time to go in. Let's go. While evolutionary change progresses slowly over vast periods of time, the initiatory path offers humanity direct and accelerated change through a fundamental reorientation to life. Let me read that again. While evolutionary change progresses slowly over vast periods of time, the initiatory path offers humanity direct and accelerated change through a fundamental reorientation to life. To align with this path, we must make contact with this inner dimension of ourselves and learn how to incorporate them as part of our living physical reality. I got time today. Once again, While evolutionary change progresses slowly over vast periods of time, the initiatory path offers humanity direct and accelerated change through a fundamental reorientation to life. To align with this path, my brothers and sisters, we must make contact with the inner dimensions of ourselves and learn how to incorporate them as part of our living physical reality. Initiatory work delivers a potent energy channel into our lives to the extent that rapid transmutation is not only possible but becomes a way of life. Once again, initiatory work delivers a potent energy channel into our lives to the extent that rapid transmutation is not only possible but becomes a way of life. You should know by now, by watching my channel, you should have a pen or pad ready. So make sure you Google the word transmutation. Transmutation. Once again, that word, Transmutation. Transmutation. Make sure you Google that word. Now, once again, initiatory work delivers a potent energy channel into our lives to the extent that rapid transmutation is not only possible but becomes a way of life. To adapt, we must undergo internal psychological conflict and struggle. This disrupts old personality patterns and structure into our lives significantly for us to become receptive to the teachings of the Christ and the Holy Spirit. Let's just keep going. I'll get to it in a minute. Some of y'all already know what I'm going to say without me saying it, so let's keep going on. The dense physical plane is the focus and arena of present human manifestation. Once again, the dense physical plane, all of this, is the focus and arena of present human manifestation. It seems that the goal of both the evolutionary and the initiatory paths is to anchor increasing levels of the Christ energy. Of the Christ energy stream in the cellular structure of our physical bodies. 2,000 years ago, the one that you call Jesus in Aramaic, his name was Yeshua. In Tibetan, they call him Saint Issa. At that time, the people consciously could not understand what Christ was talking about. This man then traveled to Egypt. This man then traveled to Tibet, and he stayed for at least 5 years. We're talking about Christ, the one you call Jesus in your Bible. We're talking about the lost years now. He came back to his hometown, and he taught them this metaphysical, this esoteric, let me say that again slowly. He came back home and taught them this metaphysical and esoteric knowledge. He brought this amazing spiritual knowledge to a people who at the time, their consciousness could not get this, and he understood this. But you can understand this now. That's why he said the kingdom of heaven is within you. Go within. If I tell you I do it, don't believe me. It's not me. It's not I. It's the Father. Everything was within with Christ. Everything was within. Go within yourself. Do not conform. But let's go back to it, because I don't. My elite enlightened ones, the one who watched this channel, you know exactly what I'm saying. So let's get right back to the nitty gritty. I'm gonna read that again. The dense physical plane is the focus and arena of present human manifestations. It seems that the goal of both the evolutionary and initiatory paths is to anchor increasing levels of the Christ energy stream in the cellular structure of our physical bodies. In past time, initiations took place in seclusion from the outer world in a temple or retreat under the protection and direction of a priest or hierophant. Let me say that again, because woo! In past times, my brothers and sisters, and thank you for watching, In past times, initiations took place in seclusion, in hiding from outer world in a temple or retreat under the protection and direction of a priest or a hierophant. Hierophant. Today we are able to take initiations within the arena of our everyday life. That's what the Essenes, that's what the Gnostics were doing. While the Pharisees and Sadducees were out there doing what they were doing, playing Democrat, Republican, the Essenes, the Ebionites, and the Nazarenes, and the Gnostics, they were putting the true work in at the time of Christ. But let's keep on going. The author says, I believe this ability relates to our bodies having evolved to the point of being able to withstand higher and more direct energies. Where my Dragon Ball Z fans at? I believe this ability relates to our bodies having evolved to the point of being able to withstand higher and more direct energies. In addition, we are at a point of human development where the anchoring and integration work needs to take place practically through the course of living our life in the world. Because of these factors, most people do not seem to be in touch with the reality of initiatory life and living that is continuously going all around us. People are not aware of this power. You're watching Dragon Ball Z. You're watching the Avatar Airbender. You're watching all these movies and thinking it's outside of yourself, but they're showing you through these animes and through these movies that it's really you. Once you tune into your inner power, this is really what you can do. People like Sami and Tokyo told you that. So, yeah. Presently, the general focus for initiates has become how to deal with and face life challenges brought about through our karmic past, because we do all have a karmic past before this physical body. This means making conscious the spirit matter polarities and relationships in outer world living and finding our true identity within them. By making a commitment to our psychological and spiritual growth, we can transcend the limitations restricting our progress. The author says, as I understand it, the task of modern day initiation in this fifth root race is to help humanity achieve conscious knowledge of its higher self or soul life and spirit. And I'm going to read that one more time, family. By making, this is us, this is what we got to do, family. You've heard so many teachers give you their perspective, great teachers. This is Christ here. This is Christ's teachings. This is Christ's energy to the next level. Accelerate it. You've been waiting for it. Here it is. Let's go once again. By making a commitment to our psychological and spiritual growth, we can transcend the limitations restricting our progress. As I understand it, the author says, the task of modern day initiation is the fifth root race. Google root races, R-O-O-T races, R-A-C-E-S. There are 7 root races. We're like the 5th one. We're in the 5th root race, but Google root races and then leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Or if you already know, leave a comment. Let me go right back. Once again, by making a commitment to our psychological and spiritual growth, we can transcend the limitations restricting our progress. As I understand it, the task of modern day initiation in this 5th root race is to help humanity achieve conscious knowledge of its higher self or soul life and spirit. In order to accomplish this goal, I believe, the author says, we need a broader perspective for viewing human psychology. When we are able to accept human spirituality as an integral component of our psychological makeup, it will serve as a bridge for humanity to connect consciously with the practical reality of our soul life. Yeah, I know. I'm going to read that again. In order to accomplish this goal, my brothers and sisters, the author says, I believe we need a broader perspective for viewing for viewing humans psychology, for viewing human psychology. When we are able to accept human spirituality as an integral component of our psychological makeup, it will serve as a bridge for humanity to connect consciously with the practical reality of our soul life. The integration of all aspects of our dimensional being can assist with this task. Becoming familiar with the biological development of our human body can also help us to understand the current foundation for initiatory life. Our present physical bodies represent eons of evolutionary change and adaptation. Let's read that one more time. Our present physical bodies represent eons of evolutionary change and adaptation. During the course of impregnation and fetal development in our mother's womb, the previous stages of cosmic creation and evolutionary human body development reenact themselves. Now, family, you've been in church mostly all your life. Did they teach you this in church? We all went to school. Some of us 12 years, even more. Did they ever teach you this in school? If not, I'll read it again just for that reason. Our present physical bodies represent eons of evolutionary change and adaptation. During the course of impregnation and fetal development in our mother's womb, the previous stages of cosmic creation and evolutionary human body development reenacts themselves. Our 9-month human gestation periods encapsulates billions of years of involuntary and evolutionary groundwork, development, and progress to date. From this viewpoint, it seems as we have come a long way, but from a greater context, we still have a considerable way to go. Austrian-born philosopher, author, and scholar Rudolf Steiner, and right now, just because I want to, I'm going to give a hand clap for that name. Because if you're watching the Darius Corbin Mystery School, and you have never heard of Rudolf Steiner, or if you're a religious person and you want to know more about just you as a spirit being, and even more about your Christ, because listen, I learned more about Christ from Rudolf Steiner. Religious people out there, I learned more about Christ from Rudolf Steiner than I ever did from any of my biblical people or any of my theologians in the Orthodox Church. So I'm going to spell his name out right quick, and I want you guys after this video, or some of you are so good you can do it while you're watching this video, Google, and I mean extensively, Google Rudolf Steiner's work, PD his work, PDF his quotes, PDF his work. Rudolph, just like the red-nosed reindeer, R-U-D-O-L-F. Once again, R-U-D-O-L-F. Steiner, S-T-E-I-N-E-R, like the Steiner brothers. Yeah. Rudolf Steiner. I encourage all my listeners who are watching this, and dang, we're only 18 minutes. Nice. I encourage all my listeners who are peeping game right now to do your research on Rudolf Steiner. Thank me later. Hit the comments and let me know once you research Rudolf Steiner. I mean, really research him. Let's read that again. Austrian-born philosopher, author, and scholar Rudolf Steiner proposed a system of childhood education designed to integrate the developmental needs of both the physical and subtle body natures. My understanding is that he saw our worldly post-birth development in 3 phases. The first 7 years of our lives, and please pay attention to this, so much that I'm going to read it again, and I want you to pay attention to what Rudolf Steiner says. Austrian-born philosopher, author, and scholar Rudolf Steiner proposed a system of childhood education designed to integrate the developmental needs of both the physical and subtle body natures. That's S-U-B-T-L-E. The author says, my understanding is that he saw our worldly post-birth development in 3 phases. The first 7 years of our lives in this continuation of our physical body development as our, and I quote, etheric body or life body, end quote, comes into its own. Previously, this body had been contained within its own embryonic state in an, and I quote, etheric envelope, end quote, which took place while our mother's body's consciousness directing her biological process. Let's read that again. While our mother's body consciousness directing her biological process formed our physical body. As our etheric double body emerges at our birth, it exerts itself in its newfound independence. It goes through its own development by directing our continuing nervous system, brain, and vital organ growth in response to the physical stimuli and early educational experiences we encounter in our environment. Now, family, before I go in at 21 minutes, I'm going to let you know now, and I'm going to give you a disclaimer as my family. The rest of part 1, going into part 2, when I do, there is going to be a chapter 2. I'm just going to let you know. We're going to be hitting childhood chords and cores. C-O-R-D and C-O-R-E. In order to accelerate and advance into the higher beings that we are and receive this Christ energy light, we must go back to the past and fix some things that need to be fixed within our astral body and our ether bodies before we can continue to accelerate and advance into these higher beings that this light is now beaming down us for us to be. So I just want to let you know that in chapter 2, I'm going to be sticking my hand out to you, because some of the stuff you're going to be hearing is going to be tear-jerking. So I'm going to let you know now in chapter 1 that when you see my hand like this and you got some tears running down, just know that my hand will be reaching out to you for healing and for assistance. Know that, because that's how real chapter 2 is going to be. I'm going to let you know now. Steiner believed that our astral body, quote, or sentient body, S-E-N-T-I-E-N-T body, emerges from its etheric envelope to begin forming around the age of 7. This happens as we transition into the development of our emotional nature. He was, and he's talking about Rudolf Steiner, he was a proponent of transcending conventional approaches to help children learn to channel their emerging emotional energies creatively. Steiner believed that between the ages of 15 and 21, the focus shifts to our mental nature and emerges to begin anchoring and growing. Family, I want to make sure that I stop and I read this again, because this is personal and important information for our spiritual growth at our churches, maybe because they didn't know how to, and our schools, maybe because they didn't know how to. But I am here now to let you know that we can. So I'm going to read this again. Steiner believed that our, and I quote, astral body or sentient body, end quote, emerges from its etheric envelope to begin forming around the age of 7. This happens as we transition into the development of our emotional nature. He was a proponent of transcending conventional approaches to help children learn to channel their emerging emotional energies creatively. Steiner believed that between the ages of 15 and 21, the focus shifts to our mental, from emotional to a mental nature, as it emerges to begin anchoring and growing. He referred to this as our body, quote, our body of the ego, end quote. He believed we should structure childhood education to coincide with our inner nature and development in a framework of balance with other aspects of developing being. I may have some teachers out there watching. I mean, some real school teachers who take the time out their life and probably have kids of their own. And if they don't, teachers, we love you. Teachers, we respect you. Teachers, have hats off to you. Thank you for all the work you put in. Even when the times you feel underpaid and overworked. Teachers, we love you and we thank you. But teachers, students, people in general, have they taught us this way? Or have they taught us the Rothschild's way? Have they taught us this way? I'm going to read it again. Or have they taught us the Rothschild way? And I encourage you all to go back into the old school Rothschild family. And their structure is what we have ended up taking for educational system. So what I'm saying is our educational system is structured from the Rothschilds. I encourage you, people who watch YouTube, to maybe after this video, Google what the first Rothschild family, what their design was for the kids going to school, even back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And then let's holler at me later on in the comment section. But let's go right back to where we were. Because like I told you, part 2 is going to be really intense. In childhood, we first connect to life through our inexperienced body consciousness. We observe and experience our own responses and reactions to the energy of human bodies and to the natural world around us. Primarily, this occurs through our developing physical senses that are stimulated by devic energy. This stimulus creates learning experiences and crises, which kindle further physical, emotional, and mental growth. The chemical and hormonal changes in our bodies are the external manifestations of this interplay of devic energy. Hopefully by now y'all have studied devic energy like I asked you to, or devic, D-E-V-I-C. Their effects support further development of our physical bodies as our higher nature transitions from our inner being. I'm going to rewind that back, and I may stop this at 45 or 50, but we're going to do a part 2, so I want to make sure that, we go right in when it's time for part 2. But I'm going to stop there and read this again. So now you understand that as kids, we start from an emotional nature. Then around 14, I think he said from 21, we go to the mental nature. From there, we have spiritual help from the rest of the way. Let's read that again. And I'm going to give a better terminology for that spiritual help in a minute. So thank you. In childhood, we first connect to life through our inexperienced body consciousness. We observe and experience our own responses and reactions to the energy of other human bodies and to the natural world around us. Primarily, this occurs through our developing physical senses that are stimulated by devic energy. This stimulus creates learning experiences and crises which kindle further physical, emotional, and mental growth. The chemical and hormonal changes in our bodies are the external manifestations of this interplay of devic energy. Their effects support further development of our physical bodies as our higher nature transitions from an inner being to a physical one. Whoa. This creates learning experiences and crises which kindle further physical, emotional, and mental growth. This chemical and hormonal changes in our bodies are the external, outside manifestations of this interplay of devic energy. Their effects support further development of our physical bodies as our higher nature transitions from an inner being to a physical one. In childhood, we grasp and internalize our experiences with immature mental and emotional bodies and undeveloped thinking and feeling faculties. The results lead us to many misunderstandings and distortions of our early life, especially around the physical nature of our life and world. As we grow up, these events can crystallize within us unconsciously, creating psychological patterns. Psychology 101. Let's read that again, family. And as you're reading, I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to be honest with your past. I want you to sit back, because in order for you to advance and accelerate into higher beings and receive this Christ energy, you must confront your past, no matter how it looks, and fix it. Let's go back to this. In childhood, we grasp and internalize. Is it not true? And most of us have kids now. So look at your kids. Look at your past. But listen, in childhood, we grasp and internalize our experience with immature mental and emotional bodies and undeveloped thinking and feeling faculties. The results lead us to many misunderstandings and distortions of our early life, especially around the physical nature of our life and world. Listen to this, family. Listen to this, brothers and sisters. Listen. As we grow up, these events can crystallize within us unconsciously, creating psychological patterns. They influence our attitude, orientations, and behavior in life. In addition, our cultural conditioning and schooling add to these influences. All of these factors reinforce our material perspective of life consciously, subconsciously, and unconsciously. It is easy to understand as adults how we have come to identify the world by its physical form and ourselves by our physical bodies. Our mental orientation leads us to give the creative power and authority for life to its natural source as biological, chemical, or atomic essence. And I'm going to sit back and give me a quick drink. I want y'all to think about, I'm going to go 60 seconds. Think about what was just said, by the way. I'm going to give y'all time to think about that. Think about what was just said. I'm back. Think about that, family. Think about that. Medical science is beginning to recognize that our mental and emotional state has a bearing on the health of our physical bodies. I'm sure y'all know that by now. I done talked about it in many videos. As a metaphysician, that's one thing that we are big on, and that's why one of my favorite scriptures is Romans 12:2. Do not conform. Don't be. A lot of people it's conformity in this world. You're conforming to what this law says and what this law says as far as man-made law, but not knowing the spiritual law that you have disregarded. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Medical science is beginning to recognize that our mental and emotional state has a bearing on the health of our physical bodies. There is now scientific evidence to suggest that possibly our thoughts and feelings play a role with genetic mutations, leading to changes in our physical body, chemistry, and affecting our biological process. Undoubtedly, there is always a physical or biological component to genetically based problems. However, I believe that there is always an inner source of obstructed energy creating the imbalances which, if not adjusted or released within our subtle bodies, must ultimately be dealt with in our physical bodies. So if you don't deal with the stuff that you keep within you, if it's pressure bust pipes or pressure can build a diamond. If you keep all that stuff that you held secret, that you keep within your mind, that you don't want nobody to know, that you haven't dealt with, whether it's victimization, whether you're the predator, whatever it is. If you have not dealt with that, let me get a little bit closer. This is your brother speaking. If you have not dealt with that stuff within yourself, then expect God to take you out of here. And you're seeing this with a lot of people. If you have stuff that you have not dealt with internally, and you hide it with alcoholism or drugs, and this is not me knocking anybody who drinks, listen closely. If you abuse substances just to escape the problems of your world, what happens is whether you go, these sicknesses happen within your body. Then now they're showing, they're manifesting in your real life, and you're wondering where you're coming from. And you go to the hospital, and the doctor can't say, I don't know what's going on. Something wrong with you, but I don't know. It's because it's eternal. You are the only one. The doctor can't fix that. Ain't no pill in the world or shot in the world that can fix until you go within yourself and you fix it. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what this book is saying. There have been many sources throughout human development which have pointed us in the direction of our deeper nature and multi-dimensional. Disney telling y'all the multiverse, and y'all think it's just a movie or a franchise. The multiverse is real. The quantum world is real. The things they were talking about in Doctor Strange, and listen, I still haven't watched that whole movie yet, but I understand exactly what they were talking about with Doctor Strange. It's all metaphysics. There has been many sources throughout human development which have pointed us in the direction of our deeper nature and multi-dimensional being. We are multi-dimensional beings. That's why you can be here, meditate, and be all the way in China. You are multi-dimensional beings. Most have evolved into distant entities, and this is the word that you're going to be hearing throughout, definitely all throughout chapter 2, part 2, but definitely through the end of part 1 as we end about around 10 more minutes. Entities. E-N-T-I-T-I-E-S. For my church folks and even my spiritual people, I wouldn't even use the word demons no more. Let's X that word out. Demons. Let's X the word demon out. I want us to start using the word entities. What's inside of your body's entities. What is unseen and is taking over your life, got you programmed right now. Entities. Google that word, entities. Let's go in. I'm going to read that one more time. And once again, we're going to stop about round 45. We'll see. There have been many sources throughout human development which have pointed us in the direction of our deeper nature and multidimensional being. Most have evolved into distant entities or discipline that represents authorities for different aspects of our cultures. Let me read that again, please. Most have evolved into distant entities or disciplines that represent authority for different aspects of our culture. The author says, my experience has been that few of these disciplines have been able to navigate the gray areas of precisely how the higher levels or dimensions of our beings intersect with our lower nature. The foundation and development of this field, or the field of psychology, especially the Jungian psychology, has opened the door to explaining our subjective nature or conscious life apart from our objective physical body. In addition, Jungian psychology specifically documents the collective unconscious, and I quote, end quote, which gives us a bridge in energy between the individual and collective realms. In a way, psychology's relentless progress towards revealing the exclusive mysteries of the human psyche has guided us towards a perspective of integrating our full identity and being. The author says, I see this contribution as the practical and working foundation for the next task of incorporating the dimensions of our spiritual essence. My experience has been that it is necessary to have a stable personality foundation in order to pursue the challenges of an initiatory energy. Traditionally, our religious institutions have offered us structures and rituals for connecting with our spiritual beliefs within a social community. Practically speaking, they have also provided a guideline toward moral living and decision making. In terms of contacting our higher self or soul, the author says, I see that the culminating focus has been more towards salvation with an afterlife emphasis. This orientation reinforces the idea that our temporal existence and spiritual life are separate. An afterlife focus, whether in religion or spiritualism, only serves to reinforce our material viewpoint that we must separate from our physical body and the world to experience our true essence and nature. This conditioning strengthens the case for the force and matter as well as our dependence on physical sense perception as our central guide to reality. The results keep us bound to matter and separated from our true spirit-matter relationship. And thank y'all for listening, because what it's saying in layman's term is, it's time for us to stop thinking all about this physical body and start thinking with the mind power. Because once we do that, we can transcend to dimensions where the body is not even accepted, where the physical vessel is not even allowed. And you ain't got to die to do that. Whoa. Our day-to-day struggle, let's bring it back one more time. Our day-to-day struggle and balancing our spirit matter origins is where we learn to reclaim our freedom from the present limitations. And I'm about to end it for chapter 1. I thank y'all for watching. This might be a good point to end it at. Let's keep seeing. Our day-to-day struggle in balancing our spirit matter origins is where we learn to reclaim our freedom from the present limitations in our consciousness. My family, did you hear that? Our day-to-day struggle in balancing our spirit matter origins is where we learn to reclaim our freedom from the present limitations in our consciousness. The restrictions within our culture limit the psychological and religious domains from integrating their approaches to serve the important purpose. Let's read that again. The restrictions within our culture limit the psychological and religious domains from integrating their approaches to serve the important purpose. It seems to me that a metaphysical perspective can bridge these domains. However, many metaphysical entities appear to be ungrounded and without significant foundation. Although the influences of science, psychology, religion, and metaphysics, as well as countless others, have greatly contributed to the various aspects and components of human development, they are isolated within themselves, each having their own particular system, culture, and language. This is true, metaphysicians. Therefore, it is up to us to learn about entities, yes it is, how their energies are integrated and interconnected with each other, and the ways in which they affect us individually and collectively. It's time to stop talking about demons and talking about entities. It's not the same thing. It's not. When we understand the basis of each entity and how it affects us unconsciously, we are better able to make conscious decisions of where and how and to whom we give authority in our lives. Oh man, I'm going to have to repeat that again because I'm just probably going to end it right here. Therefore, it is up to us to learn about entities, how their energies are integrated and interconnected with each other, and the ways in which they affect us individually and collectively. When we understand the basis of each entity and how it affects us unconsciously, we are better able to make conscious decisions of where and how and to whom we give authority to in our lives, whether we are in touch with the realities of the inner realm or not. Dealing with entities at various levels of our being is a central part of life. The focus of initiatory life forces us to do this consciously and directly. Whether we know it or not, entities are all around controlling and programming our life. But once you know this and you have consciousness of this, you can now say, hold up now. You don't run this, I run this. Elements, you don't run this, I run this. We are most familiar with physical entities that represent actual physical plane groups, organizations, and people. What most of us do not realize is that these entities exist at inner levels as well. Generally, an entity is simply a collection of devic energies that represent the essence of our lower thinking and feeling natures. Devic energy intermingles through all the ways that humans interact in daily life. The coalescing of it into entities occurring through mutual attraction, magnetism, or the crystallizing force in matter. Entities are created consciously and unconsciously amongst people in the physical world, and unconsciously and indirectly on the inner planes through our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Yeah, I'm going to stop there, family. I'm going to read it back one more time because we're, on chapter 2. I'm going to pick off where I left off. And I thank you guys for watching. I thank once again because the school, the class, we have got bigger. And family, I thank you for taking the time out your everyday schedule. I just want you to know that Christ's energy is here now. You are the Christ beings. This is a time to rejoice. There's going to be things, especially as now you know who you are. There's going to be things that's going to try to pull you backwards. Things to distract you. Things that make you feel depressed and have anxiety. Once these things appear, automatically sit back, relax, and say that I choose to, I choose to focus enjoyably inward. Let me repeat myself. When it feels like life is trying to wear you down, people around you are trying to bring you down, so it seems. That's just how you're seeing it. Whenever this happens, quiet, go within, and say, I choose to focus enjoyably inward. Now, I'm going to read that again. Here we go. We are most familiar with physical entities that represent actual physical plane groups, organizations, and people. What most of us do not realize is that these entities exist at inner levels as well. Generally, an entity is simply a collection of devic energies that represent the essence of our lower thinking and feeling natures. Devic energy intermingles through all the ways that humans interact in daily life. This coalescence of it in two entities occur through mutual attractions, magnetism, or the crystallizing force in matter. Entities are created consciously and unconsciously amongst people in the physical world, and unconsciously and indirectly on inner planes through our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Family, it is always a pleasure. I want to thank you for always tuning in. I do want to leave something with you guys, and if you want to use this later on, please use this. Please use this whenever you need it. Whenever you feel stressed and you feel depressed, I choose to focus enjoyably inward. I can feel the air flowing in and out of my nose. I can also feel the movements of my belly and chest. I am aware of my whole body at this present moment. My mind is quiet. I am in the silence. Thank you, family. Chapter 2, Part 2, coming soon.